Alright, June 1st. I'm turning this pile, but not for the last time like normal. Normal is I want to distribute it on June 1st, but because I have a lot to do, I don't want to get into the extra work of having to plan it out and put the cage around it yet. Right now I'm working on cleaning out the garage so I can fit the boat in there. Because with this divorce petition, I got to clean out another property. The boat's over there, and I got to get it out of there because it's going to be sold. The property is going to be sold. I'm too old to take out a loan and pay her off, so we're going to sell it and divide whatever money's left after the loan is paid. So where's my fork? Right here. With all that to do, I want to not get too involved with the garden. I mean, I spent a lot of time getting the kitchen garden up to snuff right out the kitchen door because I thought eating healthy food would be really important through this transition that I'm working through. And that's largely done. I mean, I've got some things that I can do to spruce it up yet, but nothing is really pressing right now. The beds are formed. Lots of crops that I can harvest right now are ongoing. You know, the greens, the collard greens and kales, and Swiss chard is starting to get a little bit leafier. Been eating radishes for quite some time now, so that's good. Now I'm cleaning this garage out. I'm also cleaning out camp. The camp will probably be done. 2 more trips, I'll have that done. In the garage, I'm gonna, hopefully I'll have it all arranged where I can fit a boat in this afternoon. So if I have to turn this I've been turning this pile every day and a half to 3 days. And if I have to go even a week, which is not normal for me. Normally this is planting day. If I have to go another week, that's okay. Everything I plant is done before the last frost anyways, or largely finished. Which is what I've been planting lately is squashes, climbing beans, and some corn. I tried that popcorn last year and it didn't grow that great, but I got one nice cob off of it. I'm going to try one more time. It's a very large black seeded popcorn. I sure would like to get something to work on that because I like eating popcorn in the winter. Which I guess it's not that great for you to eat, but it's like in the throes of the dark winter, nice to have a little break. I eat a little bit in the summer now. I mean, in the past I ate it all the time, but along with this transition, I'm also transitioning my diet into something a little more strict. But popcorn is not going to be excluded from that. I don't think I'm going to have to add any water. I really watered this the last 2 turns in anticipation of planting it. It's like this thing that gets so hydrated that when I plant, I don't have to water this thing for months. Even if it's really dry, it just got so much water in it. And when I distribute the compost, it's warm. And those seeds just like jump right out of the compost. So I'm doing something a little bit different than the past with the initial start. In the past, I've been taking the very end of the pile and starting a new one. But now, you noticed I took the outside and I put that there. Now I'm deeper into the pile. And what I took out of this slot here, what I took to produce the slot, went up over the top of all that material that was on the outside. And it's more like in rhythm with my turn. That very first spot I would have outside material on the outside. So now I've got that outside material. I left it there. It's still there. That outside little knob is still underneath that pile, and this hot stuff went over the top. That's what you want. You want to build the pile out, or I want. I don't think there's many people that are actually doing this. Even the ones that are watching aren't doing it. But what I want is the outside of the pile becomes the center of the new pile. Because obviously what's in the center is working. And now the material that's on the outside that isn't working right now, that's going to be in the center and it's going to be working. Like this stuff is here. That's the reasoning. And of course, it makes so much sense that I can call it truth. There aren't a lot of truths in this world, but making compost and turning it outside to inside is a truth. So there's still a lot of cordage in here, and the greens I'm adding, and that never stopped me from distributing the pile and planting it, because the worms come in, they finish it. Those little compost worms, they get in here and it doesn't take long. Of course, their secretions becomes fertilizer. So I don't think that totally finishing an aerobic compost pile is in the best interest of growing plants. I just don't think so. If you have it distributed when it's a little green yet, still working, still with greens that haven't been composted, that haven't been digested, and then the worms come and finish it off. You leave behind the signature fertilizer that only worms can provide. All the bacteria in the guts of worms, that's the real thing. It's not some concoction that a turncoat scientist produced for a international corporation as they make more money. You know, in my book, all those people are fascists because they use the government as a tool to protect their business model and enhance their profits. The United States, America, well, of course, it all started in Europe. That's where fascism got its seed money. But it's on full display here in the United States. Starting with agriculture. And let's not forget pharmaceuticals. They use the universities and the law to enhance their profits, protect their business model, train the next generation of fascists. That's what's happening. That's the way it works here. Thanks to the Europeans, the European noblemen. They're the ones that kicked all the peasants off the land. Of course, most of them came here in the United States. We had her pretty good for a while. And we still have it pretty good compared to a lot of other countries, but not like it could be. They let us loose. And of course, most people are trained into the system. They don't want to be loose anyways. They want the protection of the system. So it's just going to keep flowing on until there's nothing else left to feed it. Then what comes next is what's described figuratively in the book of Revelations. The Holy Bible. And we'll truly find out how narrow the path is. Not very many people can do this. They're pretty weak now. Fascist food and lack of activity pretty much doomed them if things get really tough. they're going to have a hard time coping. That's my view anyway. Who knows what's going to happen. Maybe Musk will get all these people together and start shipping them to Mars. And they can live in paradise on Mars. Just like no bugs. They don't have any bugs on Mars, so you won't have to deal with bugs. Oh, I have an insight for you people. This compost is supposed to digest everything except for 2 parasites. And now everything is kind of a loose word, because I guess you're going to throw a hunk of wood in there. It ain't going to digest the hunk of wood in, 18 days. And one thing that I was surprised about is I put some coconut shells in here and they didn't digest. Let me show you one. I've been pulling them out now because I want to distribute it. Yeah, still in its whole form. That's after, well, let's see, 28 days, because I pulled it out 2 days ago. So I'm going to break them apart with a sledgehammer, and then I'm going to soak them in a ferment with weeds, and we'll see if that doesn't get them. But that'll be a next year project, because I don't have time to do 2 compost piles this year. This is important. This is the most important work that I do right here, making this compost. Figuring out how it works. Some of these little insights that I gained this year, especially the one on the beginning flip, it took me since 2013 when I started this to figure that out. Now if I was turning a compost heap every day of the year, starting a new one every 18 days or even every 30 days, I'd have got this far a lot quicker. But I'm not making any money at this. I'm just providing for myself, and not only physically with good food, but also mentally. It's a mental stimulation to be experimenting with this. So you notice that I'm taking this outside of this pile now again and flipping it up first. And when the outside is in there first, which will, secure it into the middle of the pile, then I'll work into the slot and get the material that's on the inside that's working. And when I say it's working, that's the bacteria that's eating the material that I provided, that I judiciously provided. I noticed on some forums, and not lately, but in the past, people would, oh, my compost doesn't work. It's not heating up, or, no, not heating up is the biggest one. The other one would be weeds. Oh, there's weeds growing in it. Well, they're not flipping it, and they didn't start with the right materials. You see, now I'm working into the middle of the pile, and now I'm placing it over the top of the odor pile that I just put on in place. So today, I said I was going to finish with that garage, but I'm also going to watch the Milwaukee Brewer game. That's the only time lately that I've been slowing down. Well, in the morning time I slow down a little bit because I'm sipping coffee. I do some new exercises now every morning. And I'm drinking a cup of water, or a glass of water before I drink coffee. It was explained to me from a guy that coaches older people, at least the older people that want to live longer, be healthier. Yeah, when you're sleeping, your body's repairing, and it kind of uses up your water, the moisture in your body. So the first thing you want to do when you wake up is to rehydrate. He says put a little salt water in with the water. And I've got some spring water from deep in the earth. And I've been putting a little sea salt in the glass of water. And I do these exercises. And it all involves loosening up the joints and getting the lubricant that gets in between the joints. And the name of it escapes me at the moment. But I move my joints around. And it's basically, I start with, he didn't have it in this order, but I find it's better for me. I start with a hip move, and I roll my head too at the same time. So I'm rolling my head and I'm rolling my hips, and all these bones are now all getting lubricated. Then you get in and you do your one ankle like this. I go 5 times one way and 5 times another, and this is why I'm balancing on another. He said that's another thing. Older people that can balance on their feet, they generally have longer lives. So I'm doing that. I'm doing 2 things at once. I'm doing the balance. Ooh, no, I can't do it because the ground's uneven. I'm doing the balance, and I'm rotating my ankles, and then I rotate my wrists at the same time, my elbows and my shoulders. So I go 5 times one way, and I go 5 times the other, doing my fingers and everything. And I definitely notice a difference, without a doubt. In the past, I was kind of waking up stiff, and I was thinking, well, I'm drinking too much coffee, which is true anyway. And no, I don't have it. I don't have the problem at all. And another thing he said to do, and I'm doing, is I'm doing these exercises outside as I'm facing the sun right away in the morning as it's rising. And that's supposed to fix your circadian rhythm. And you sleep a little bit better at night, although I was sleeping pretty good anyway, so I don't think it's generally helping there, at least not right now. And I notice. And I like going outside right away in the morning, especially this time of the year. I get to look at my garden beds. There's another coconut shell that I'm not going to go back in there. Well, maybe I can do an experiment with one little pile of compost that I'm going to plant, or I'll put coconut shells in upside, so that the cup is holding up. Maybe that'll help hold the moisture. I'm using the shovel. It's another discovery I made just like precious 2 or 3 years ago. The shovel collects up all these little horse apples that roll off the pile. And I shovel them into the middle. Before I was using a fork, and how are you going to get a round object like that on a fork? It's amazing that I didn't figure that out right away. I was so busy trying to figure out the process that I wasn't thinking about the technique. Well, I got that white bacteria growing, so it's almost exactly 2 days since I turned it. I can feel the old handle of this fork is starting to creak more than normal. I really like this thing. I bought it for a couple bucks. It's got a long handle, that's what I like. Probably it's lightweight because it's old and dried out. And maybe it'll last more years. So without adding any material or water, I'll be able to get through this a lot faster. So I know some of you have been watching my YouTube channel for a long time and were even connected to my Facebook page that I discontinued when COVID started. You know, I was against that shot, and Facebook started to penalize me. I quit the account, and then I restarted. Now that all that's over with, and plus my immediate family of brothers and sisters and my dad, they're all on it, so I'm connected with them. So if any of you long-term listeners on or watchers on YouTube, Rick Larson, Manitowoc should get you there. Somehow you got to leave me a note saying that you've been watching my YouTube channel, and I'll okay you. I'm being a lot more careful with who I allow on my friends list this time around. Last time around I was a little naive. Well, some people really weren't that friendly. It says friends. If I click you as a friend, you should be friendly, right? But the problem is, and it's prevalent in the permaculture community too, is they want to compete instead of cooperate. People just have that in them. Got to compete. Probably some ancient tribal instinct where you got to get rid of the competition or else you're not going to eat. And they didn't know enough to learn how to do all this so that they had plenty for everybody. And of course they weren't smart enough to limit their population either. They had the resources, they just had more people, and all of a sudden more people met with less resources. And that's probably what started most of the wars. Just that statement right there. The mothers with crying, hungry babies. As a man, you better get out there and get some resources to feed your wives or your women who have hungry babies. That's just my little summary. It shouldn't be taken as gospel. But if you want to read the gospel, I would suggest starting with the book of Revelations. Of course, that's too scary for most people. They're trapped in a cycle of dopamine squirts in their brain. Whatever stops that dopamine squirt, they will avoid. By all costs, they will avoid it. They want that dopamine to keep squirting. That is another truth. People are addicted to the dopamine. Whatever makes them happy. Guess you could blame Nancy Reagan because she said, "Don't worry about tomorrow. Be happy today." Something in that order. Not sure. They don't want you fighting back. They want the fascist system to continue on. You don't want you thinking. They just want you being happy. Well, good luck with that. There is no good end result of being happy all the time. Wears your body out prematurely, and you neglect more important aspects that'll come back to fight you. Like the fascists. And all of a sudden you'll all be marching in their army like the Nazis. We are God's chosen people, and everybody else should serve us. Or be dead. Because there's not enough resources. We gotta get rid of them. And that's another truth. recorded by history. Over and over and over again. When all these people had to do is think about not having as many kids. There's a piece of glass here. Not having as many kids and making compost. Right here, this is the solution to all the problems. Look at that, I'm out of the picture. I'm busy and I'm not paying attention. Stretch run now, we're almost done. I already put up a composting video this morning on YouTube. Maybe during the game I'll let this one, I won't even edit it, so I won't have to spend any time on it. I'll just put it in the editing program and render it and post it. This will be the only composting video that'll be close to time. This fence is what I use to encircle the compost, protect it from woodchucks and that loose chicken wire at the top. Chicken wire is over there. That kept them from climbing in, because as they came up first they came up this more stiffer stout material that was holding the chicken wire, and they would get up to the final 2 feet of chicken wire that had no support whatsoever. The chicken wire, I think, was bending down, and they didn't want to drop down in. So that worked. But of course, that takes money to buy this fencing. And of course, maybe Albano's doing this, but I seriously doubt there's anybody doing a compost heap like I am that's listening to my YouTube channel. Most of you are just in it for entertainment, something to do. You don't want to do anything, you just want to see somebody else do it. And the act of thinking about doing it is enough for you. That gives you your dopamine hit. You didn't have to actually work at it. I was caught into the Facebook scrolling routine too for a while, so I know. And as soon as I was hit with it, well, not as soon as it took me. I mean, I was a zombie for a long time, so it probably was like 3 months after I got served a divorce petition. I then went on, signed up to Match.com. There's a free one on Facebook too that has a lot of ladies signed up on it. So now I was scrolling on profiles and I would find one that's kind of like, okay, that's interesting, I kind of like that. But then I keep scrolling. I'd give them a half-hearted, benign comment. No, I like that, and I'd move on. So I was addicted to reading the profiles instead of actually working at trying to get one of them to respond. Until I found this one lady where her response was her phone number. That was the first communication I had with her, other than I sent her a benign message telling her I liked her orange suit. And that's not an orange jail jumpsuit, that's an orange hunting suit. Her response was her phone number, which is much different than all the other responses I was getting. Most of these ladies are like scared rabbits, like they had a bad relationship or something. So I've taken that lady out on a couple of hunting scouting missions, and she does have a little bit of a hard time keeping up.
said she's going to lose some weight so that she can keep up. Well, we'll see what happens, see what develops. I don't know. Whatever. She's grown up, she can do what she wants. But my aim now is to find a companion that wants to do what I want to do. Not have to force, not to be forced into it, but just want to. That's what I'm looking for. Top of the list, a couple categories. One is quite a few categories I'll list right now. Hunting and fishing, obviously. It's a way to get healthier food. Gardening, obviously. Being healthy, which how are you really going to know? Man, if they would approve of making compost, the last one, the one I left, and this was one of the things, there's a lot of reasons why I don't want to be out with you anymore. This was one of them. She even thinks that this compost killed one of the cats. She cited some reason why manure can kill cats. Well, geez, manure kills cats, there wouldn't be any on any farms, would there? So I'm not sure where she got that from. So having allowed me to compost, or I shouldn't say allowing me, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, just like I've been, even though she protested. I'm going to do it. And if a new lady companion doesn't like it, then she's got to go find somebody else. Not that big a deal. There's lots of people. Lots of people on these dating apps, especially the Facebook one. I think a lot of the ladies are probably just as addicted to scrolling as I was for 2 months. Of course, in the wintertime, what else do you do, right? It's dark early in the morning. It doesn't get light out until 7-ish or even later, 7:30. So you get up at 5. It was kind of a nice diversion, waiting for the sun to come up. And of course, I was in the throes of being a zombie from that surprise petition. Totally surprised me. And I was in trauma. One thing I haven't really said too much, I told this to my attorney. I'm going to go and visit every single legislator in our state at the Capitol. And I'm going to give them a short little 3-minute message about how respondents in the state of Wisconsin are being taken advantage of by the system. Number one is, if a guy's in trauma, first of all, they got 5 days. They can file, the petitioner can file a petition, and it has to be responded to in 5 days. If they can get the court to agree with 5 days, they can do it in 5 days. And of course, the attorney that's working for the petitioner doesn't care if it's unfair advantage. They just want an advantage for their client. That's all they want. So that needs to change. She's in the Carolinas. I think North Carolina, it's a whole year. Of course, they're not interested in exploiting everybody in Carolina like they are here. And the next thing was that attorney asked for alimony, maintenance, and that I pay her attorney's fees. Well, now if I want to have an attorney answer that, they know the rules, so they definitely could fool somebody who doesn't have an attorney into somehow agreeing with it by not addressing it. And then now you got to pay for that. So, this attorney asked for it even though she made more money than I did last year. It's crazy. So that should change. And then the other thing is her attorney's fees. Well,
in this state it's 50-50. So even the attorney's fee should be thrown in the pot and treated as 50-50. So those are 3 points I'm going to make. Quick little 3-minute dissertation. I'll have it. I'll have a sheet. I'll have it all in writing so I can hand it to him. My name and case number, petition number. It'll all be there for him. And at the end of the very last of the of my dissertation, my little essay, I'll say, and now that you know this, because I was thinking about suicide, and at the very end I'm going to say, and from now on, since you know this, anybody who commits suicide because they were unfairly treated by the system, it's now your fault, the legislators' fault, because they didn't address the law, the unfairity, the inequity of the law. That's what I'm going to do. Man, the worst dream that I had, it was a dream, came into me in dream form. Right when you wake up, you're in that little state of, you know, you're dreaming and you're thinking and a lot of mental activity going on. And I thought this was real. I was in that little dream state of waking up. I went to my safe. I got on my hunting rifle. I put the butt, I don't remember putting a shell in or anything, just this little bit that I remember. And I put the butt on the ground, on the floor in the living room. I put the barrel under my chin and I was reaching with my thumb to push on the trigger. And I woke up. That was tough. Holy cow, I thought that was real. You know, as I was bringing that thumb down, I'm thinking, as soon as I push that trigger, I won't know it. And all my pain will be gone. I've had more thoughts like that, not that severe, but what the hell's the point? I should just leave. But now I'm almost over it. I still get some butterflies yet in my stomach. But I think it was just a total shock, the surprise of it. That put me off guard so much. And then she was planning it, she was scheming it. Now my attorney says she was probably scheming it for years, what she's finding out. So she had all this time to adjust her mind. And she couldn't share any of that with me because she was probably scared little rabbit, right? And then I got the surprise and I got the brunt of the trauma. So we're going to see if I can do something about that here in the state of Wisconsin. We're done with the compost heap. Yeah, look at that. All right.